Now, hello, everyone. Hello. Welcome to Friday Night Live. Tonight, I've got some very special guests. I've got Sheryl and Ben, and they are from Strange Encounters Downunder. Now, hello, Fairy. Hello, Kim. Hello, everyone in chat. It's nice to see you all again. And yes, and I have Sheryl and Ben.
Hi everyone.
Hello.
This would be like asking questions. I'd like to find out a few things with speaking with Sheryl and Ben from Strange Encounters Down Under. And hello, Shawwoman. Shawwoman. Sorry. I should wear my glasses. So, how are we all? I'm from South Australia.
Mm-hmm.
I'm from East Gippsland, Victoria.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm in Brisbane.
Oh, cool. Got a variety tonight, guys.
We're all around the country.
Well, I'm still like freezing here.
It's cold here too.
It's freezing here. So, yes, if anyone on the chat would like to ask questions, we'll see if we can get some answers. And some of the one I was very interested in when I watched was your highway, haunted highways. The one about the Aboriginal woman with the wheelchair with the shopping trolley. That one was really interesting. I found that one. Yes, I found that one was really interesting.
Yes.
That one was really interesting because we have we call it Anzac Highway. It's not really like the Hume Highway or anything like that. It's just like a main road that goes to one of the very popular beaches called Glenelg. And we have 3 hauntings on that road. Apparently, I've never come across them in my lifetime, but we have one that's actually a young girl who's in white who hitchhikes and wants to get a lift to her mum's place. And that one's been reported to the police many times of a woman being picked up and she's gone. There's another one of 3 children on a corner of a main road on the Anzac Highway. They're actually in their pajamas covered in blood.
Oh, wow.
And which I've never come across anything like that. But these are the stories that have actually come up in South Australia on their Anzac Highway. And the other one is a car that drives alongside you, and you look over, and all the occupants in the car are all bloodied and disfigured and look like they've been in a car accident.
Wow.
Yeah, that's actually on it's called Anzac Highway. It's not actually like the Hume Highway or stuff like that. It's just like a big main road. But they're the 3 that we've got encounters here in South Australia.
I think the old Princess Highway that goes all around Australia must have its fair share of hauntings.
I reckon so too.
Yeah, those hauntings, or I guess you'd call them hauntings of females dressed in white.
Yeah,
white clothing. That's everywhere.
Yeah,
not just in Australia.
Because especially the one in South Australia, because that one's been reported that many times to the police that they've picked up a girl hitchhiker in white. They get in, she gets into the car. They turn around to ask where you want. She says, "Can you take me to my mother's?" Turn around, she's gone.
Wow.
It's been reported that many times. The police actually have reports of that incident on Anzac Highway.
Interesting. I've never heard of the police reports about those cases.
Yeah, the other ones with the children, people have actually said they've seen it. It's on the corner like Anzac Highway, Morford Road, with 3 young children in pajamas covered in blood.
You can probably stand there night after night and see nothing. You've just got to be there.
I've driven down that road many times, and I've never come across nothing like that. No. That's the
paranormal.
Yeah.
UFOs, everything. That's the paranormal. You've just got to be in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, that's what they say. But I've never ever in the times I've been driving, I've gone down that road and never come across anything like that ever.
Well, that brings up the usual question, doesn't it, Jackie, about why do some people have these experiences and other people don't?
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
Yeah, good point, Cheryl. Absolutely.
Mm.
You know, it
Because
would
I know-
suggest that you have to be sensitive in some way to see it, perhaps. You know, not everybody has that sensitivity.
Mm.
Or
That's
even
true.
you may be sensitive, but you still may not see it.
I wouldn't
exactly.
like to pick. Actually, I don't think I'd like to pick up any. I realise there's no one there in the long run.
Ah.
You've got to be sceptical who you pick up these days.
Especially if they're dressed in white.
Yeah. Yeah, because they have them type of stories all over. Because we have a haunted cemetery up the road from where I live called Yulee Cemetery, and they say that you drive around there and you actually see a woman floating across the road in white. Now, what's with the white?
Yes, good question.
You've got to check your coloured clothes in on the other side.
Yeah, well, because it's like
Just
a
can't
pretty,
wear 'em.
it's a pretty historic cemetery up. It's only a little cemetery, but it's up so like semi-country, suburban country. It's only like 8 minutes up the road from where I live, and they say, yeah, people have said they've seen a woman float across the road.
Yeah, I think on the episode that we did, I spoke about one of my work colleagues telling me about the experience that she and her mother and sister had when they were driving along the Princess Highway, and they saw this mist go across the road, and it was summer, in the middle of summer, so it wasn't like autumn or sometime where you'd see a lot of fog, and the mist goes across the road, and then they see a lady floating about 2 feet above the road with her arms out like that, dressed in white with long hair, and she was an old lady, and they drove through the fog and past her on the side of the road. And my colleague's mother said, it's a strange time to be hitchhiking. And they just kept on driving. So
I'll just keep driving too.
yeah. And I did look, and there actually is the remains of an old house in the paddock next to where the sighting was. I did a bit of research on that. And there's the foundations of an old building there. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, because where this one where we just up the road from it, there used to be an old chapel there, and they demolished it because it was all vandalized back in the late 70s, 80s, and a lot of the grave sites up there have been demolished. A lot of them have been like vandalized, and they used to have what do you call them? Like stone, where would you call them? Pentagrams.
Yeah, right.
Up the road at the cemetery, but when the council come along and done a big clean out, they took them all away, and the cemetery is just derelict anyway, even though it's a historic cemetery. But so
Jackie,
I don't know.
You said stone pentagrams, did you?
Yes.
Pentagrams on stone, or
No, they actually made the chapel that was demolished. The rubble stone was left behind. And the people back in the late 70s, early 80s went there and actually made pentagrams with the church rubble.
Oh, I see. Right. I was getting a bit confused because I'm interested in early settler magic as well. So I was thinking maybe it was, something that had been left behind from, when people first settled in Australia. But got that bit confused.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Someone had gone up there one night and used the rubble from the church that got demolished and made 2 pentagrams there.
Right.
It was very, because that cemetery I don't like very much.
Best to be avoided.
Yeah, even though it's only up the road for me, but I wouldn't like to go up there very much. It's like one of the other ones I saw, actually, it's another video I saw of yours, and it was called the Black Mountains in Queensland.
North Queensland. Yeah.
Yes, the ones that near Cooma. It's
Kybra?
not far. I wrote it down somewhere.
Is that the mountain where people disappear?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like a volcanic.
Yeah, the mysterious Black Mountain. Yeah. Queensland. Yeah.
Yeah, there's been lots of disappearances in that area.
Yeah, and cattle and stuff like that.
And going back, into the the 19th century, and so obviously been happening for for a fair amount of time. But one thing I'm really curious about with all these things is, you know, what's happening now. You know, so. And I don't even think they actually encourage you to go there. I think the national park, you actually can't go in there. I think I read that too.
About that.
Yeah, you can't actually go into there.
Yeah, a lot of those say it's about the Aboriginals, the thing with the Aboriginals up there. So
yeah. So you're not allowed in there.
No.
Yeah. And there's a lot of cryptid reports from that area as well.
Yes.
So they've got the big yowies and the short hairy men.
Yeah.
Well, they could be females too, who would know, but they're known as short. What are they called? The Jinderi? Is it Jinderi? What is it?
Junduddies, I think it is.
Is it? Oh, okay, right.
Yeah. Junduddies, yeah.
Maybe someone can tell us.
They're almost like a little Ewok version, you know?
Yes, that's right.
That'd be cute.
Not with names like Wicket. Yeah. No, they're
Isn't it interesting? Isn't it interesting how a lot of these things, like you know, you often see collections of types of encounters or experiences, like you have UFO sightings, you have cryptid reports, you have ghost sightings, all those things in certain areas. And I've often wondered if it's got to do with where ley lines cross or something like that, something about the topography of the land in the area. I'm not really sure.
That's what they say about we've supposed to have the most haunted cemetery in Australia, and that's called the St. John's Cemetery in Kapunda, where the actual what do you call it? Where they used to have the cemeteries down below, but they used to have up above was where the reformatory was, and they had a rogue priest who got apparently the legend is that she got a girl pregnant, and a lot of stuff happened, and when she passed away, they didn't actually give a proper say like how she died. Like they're saying that she died like having a miscarriage, or she died of having an appendix, because it was in the early 1900s when this happened. But apparently when you go there at night time, you see red lights, and it's in the middle of nowhere. Like this cemetery is in the middle of nowhere. A lot of people in South Australia have probably been up there, but it's in the middle and you see actually red lights in the distance now, which are unexplainable, which makes you think, what are they like? Because it's in the middle of nowhere. All it surrounds it is actually just hills. There's no housing about 3 or 4 kilometres away.
Wow.
That's a good setting. That's a very good setting.
Yeah, because they had the reformatory above the cemetery, because they had the original cemetery on top of the hill, but they had to move it in the late 1870s, 1880s. They had to move it because they couldn't dig deep down enough for the graves. So they had to move what they could down to the newer section, which they could bury them deeper.
Yeah.
They've had reports there of actually seeing red lights.
Like min style lights, or like, you know, they little lights, are they min style, or?
Well, probably would say in between. So like little but not big.
Yeah.
And they said they were red lights. They would see it in the sky.
Yeah,
like,
I think a min
cemetery. Yeah.
I think min's probably about a basketball size, you know. Maybe bigger. But that's interesting, isn't it? Yeah.
Actually, I want to ask the question, like, what made you both start to do this type of research, to do your channel?
You go first, Cheryl.
Yeah, okay. Well, actually, I started it with our editor and partner in crime, Barry Taylor, who was a UFO researcher well known in the UFO community in Australia. And we started it back in 2014 because we wanted to provide people with a platform to tell their stories.
Yeah.
And then after that, I was just trying to think of some, like the history before we came on here. So we did that, and then about 2018, I started on a radio show called Spooky Action Radio, and then another one. Then we started the Strange Encounters Downunder radio show, and I was doing that with someone called Sifu, and he's still around. And then he stopped doing that, and so I asked Ben if he wanted to do these video podcasts, Zoomcasts, I guess you could call it, with me, and because I knew he'd been around for a while in the UFO community and had not that you're old, Ben, but
no.
had an interest in all unusual things too. So, and that was great because I've known Ben and I knew we'd work together, and that's worked really well.
Yeah.
Yes, and so between Ben and I and Barry and Sifu, we sort of are a bit of a motley crew. We've got fingers in many pies, and I'm also involved in UFO Research Queensland, and Ben was involved in the Victorian UFO Action Group, and and then and Sifu's interested in all things unusual, and Barry is our backup with all the editing for us, which is really great, and he has his own stories too. So it all sort of works loosely, but works well.
That's good. It is really good.
Yeah, and for my part, I started doing UFO research about 10 years ago, and that was a long journey through, forming groups and groups rising and groups falling and that type of thing. And we held some conferences and made a lot of grassroots videos about, when I say that, I mean, standing out in the paddock with a witness, swatting flies on a summer's day, talking about an encounter that occurred 40 years ago. So we did a lot of those sort of videos, which was great. And I also did a little bit of radio too. I had a radio show in America on KGRA, which was the Ben Hurl show. And I've got another one now on UNX, Unexplained Phenomena Australia, which is, they were both for American audiences, talking about Australian UFOs, and the new show goes a lot further than that. And of course, what we're doing with our podcast is really basically mirrors that in the same way that we're just bringing all these things out for people to you may be aware of some of these cases, and you may not be aware of them, or these strange phenomena that are around the place. And over the journey of going from UFOs and going across to ghosts and across to cryptids and across to a whole myriad of other things, which I don't consider myself to be an expert or overly experienced in, I've learned a lot along the way. So, and with our podcast, we will keep on continuing to delve into what we can find that's primarily related to Australia as much as possiple, because hence the name is about Strange Encounters Down Under. So we can't talk about what's happening in in other countries, but sometimes you have to, like, you sort of have to deviate from that and come back again. But no, it's great, and it's great to meet you too, Jackie, and extend the the network and connections across the country.
Yeah. It's always great to connect with new people.
Thank you for connecting with me.
Well, it's the thing is that there's the Australian UFO community, and there's the Australian paranormal community, but actually they're really well aligned. It's just that I've been involved in UFO research since 1988. And we've known for a long time that people who report close encounters often have paranormal experiences intertwining their life. So, I'm surprised that actually the two communities haven't come together far earlier, really, because they are very closely related. But it seems that the UFO community and the paranormal communities tend to stay in their own sort of parameters, So it's good
been that way.
What's that, Ben?
Absolutely, yeah. I couldn't agree more with that statement, Cheryl. I think that's really important that sort of melding together of all the different aspects of it should be really encouraged.
Mm.
You know, and it's not just Australia either. I think that's common in America and England as well. That you go to a ghost convention, you go to a UFO convention. You know that's very much the way it's sort of always played out.
Yeah. Because they all have like different fields of what we do. Like I'll tell you straight out, I'm a fence sitter when it comes to paranormal, anything, UFOs. Like I'm a fence sitter until I see it, and then I'll believe it.
Oh, that's a good way to be too. I mean, you know, seeing is believing. You know,
I'm a definite fence sitter.
Well, that's okay. I mean, I think healthy skepticism is really important for these fields.
Yeah, it's important to have, due diligence when you are investigating too, so that you're not coming at it with just with rose-colored glasses that everything is a ghost, that everything is a poltergeist, or that everything is from outer space. There's a lot of natural explanations out there, and you've just got to be able to identify. As a researcher, you've got to be able to identify, where that all starts and stops.
That's true. Very true. Like, I do believe there is life beyond Earth. There is definitely life out there, but until I see it, I'm very skeptic until it comes until I see it. But if I saw a yowie, definitely.
Well, I think you can smell them before you see them.
Yeah, apparently, I heard.
I believe.
Yeah,
I've seen a fake bunyip. We got a fake bunyip at one of our River Murray country towns. Little fake.
There is
bunyip.
too. Yeah,
got a bunyip.
It's in a concrete bunker, I think.
Yeah.
I've seen the pictures of it.
I've seen it. I've seen it in real life. Yeah, it's not very scary, but I've seen that.
No, it's but most importantly, I think you can be a fence sitter, but you have to be open minded. I think otherwise, you're closed minded. So open minded, but show me the evidence, or let's show me the evidence so we can make an informed decision about what this is.
I also think that it's important when you're in these fields to have an eclectic background, so you're not just coming from one field of knowledge or understanding. You might see something strange and you might think that it's an alien, but maybe it's something else, or maybe it's an apparition or something. And I've spoken to people who were doing table tipping and that to communicate with the dead, but this woman said to me, actually, I don't think we're communicating with the dead. I think we're communicating with aliens. So, I mean, she just opened her mind to the idea that this could be something else. And I think that's really important. And I was just watching the Fairy Dragon. He says that it's really helpful when we all come together, that we can get more understanding about what's going on.
That's so true. Because we
Absolutely,
all do different fields of everything. Like, I do paranormal to try and seek out the answers. And
yeah, exactly. You can be too sciencey and not sciencey enough. So and I think coming from different fields is really the only way to make an impact into what we call the envelope of everything called the paranormal.
Yes, that's very true. Is anyone on the thing would like to have any questions for Sheryl and Ben?
Don't be shy.
Play the music.
Yeah, well, I just would say, while we wait for questions, is that with the show that we're doing, it's broad, it's wide open. People can suggest ideas of what to talk about or provide feedback or commentary, and this is great having the chat room here. It's important to look at all aspects of the paranormal, even stuff that you might think's fluffy yourself, or not. Then it's important to consider everything.
That's true. Very true. And I wonder if someone needs to change their car battery.
And and wintertime, which it is here in Australia, is a great time for paranormal. From what I've read and seen around the place, that standing out in a freezing cold cemetery is great. And on a winter's night, and it's also the optimum environment for min-mins to appear is the dead heart of winter. So in Boulia, Queensland, which is the central hub of the min-min phenomenon, but not exclusively, but that's where it's known for. It's always historically been in the cold depths of winter that they mostly do appear.
Oh, okay. Here's a question for you.
Had a frightening UFO experience. Yes, I have.
Yes.
Do tell.
Yes, well, do tell, yes. Well, it was back about 1990, and I woke up in the wee hours of the morning and to see three small beings standing beside my bed. And they were being silhouetted by the streetlight outside. And they just stood there and looked at me, and I was really frightened. Actually, I was terror-struck, really, to tell you the truth. I think because they were just so alien. They were like the typical small greys that people talk about with the inverted pear-shaped heads. So it's bigger up the top and smaller down the bottom. And they were very emaciated. You couldn't see any muscles on them at all, really. Very skinny arms and torsos. And I did what everyone does in a situation like that. I just pulled the sheet up over my head and started saying the Lord's Prayer.
Sounds like something I would do.
It was very strange and out of character for me to do it because I'm not a religious person, even though I'd been to Sunday school as a kid. But it was a spontaneous response. I wasn't even consciously aware that I was doing it. I was sort of doing it before I realized, what the hell am I doing? So I'm saying the Lord's Prayer, and I didn't even know I still knew it. And the next thing I knew, it was morning. And I had no memory of the experience until later on in the day, and something triggered my memory. And I went, whoa, that happened last night. And, it was, for me, it was very frightening. And it wasn't just because, like some people say, it's just the fear element is because it's a shock or that. Yes, it was a shock. But it was also because of what they look like, I think. They were very alien to my human nature, and I just found it very challenging. So that was my scary experience in relation to, aliens.
Mine's kind of similar, but a little bit different. And you could not conclusively say that it's a UFO experience per se, but you guys can be the judge. One night I woke up and I could feel my bed moving, like there was something pressing against it on the side on where I was. And I instantly had this feeling that there was someone standing right next to me. And I mean, right next to me. And I wasn't facing that way. And I'd had the curtains wide open, and it was a full moonlit night. So the moonlight was streaming in through the open window. And I spun over, and standing there was a hooded being of some sort. And you can think of the ring wraiths from the Lord of the Rings. It was sort of like that, but a smaller, skinnier version of what a ring wraith would look like, but the same black type of cloak. And there was this type of a spiral that was coming down from it to me. And I screamed at the top of my lungs, and it just, in that instant, it just went, it just completely disappeared. But the whole experience was, you say, oh, that was a dream, but it wasn't a dream because it was, I was already awake. The bed was moving, and I turned around and it's standing right there, and as solid as a rock. And then I must have like interrupted it or whatever, and I was terrified. I slept with the light on for the rest of the night, and for the next week after that. It was just a really intense experience with something that was either extraterrestrial, maybe dimensional, maybe some other nefarious cheeky creature. But that was really a truly terrifying experience, and one that I've feared that may occur again, but fortunately hasn't to this point.
Wow.
Mm.
Wow.
And I encourage people to talk about these things. Like, you know, you've got to be open about it and talk about it. If you had a really strange experience, then talk.
I think for me, I'd been listening to people's stories, other people were reporting these sorts of things, and they told me that they were terrified, like you just did, Ben. You know, but I didn't really fully understand the depths of that terror until I had my own experience, and I just, it just sort of struck me more deeply after that when people would tell me their experiences, because I could then identify with what they were feeling. And every time I just heard you tell that then, and every time people say, you know, I was terrified, I can tap back into that feeling in my own experience. Yeah.
I've got the chills now, like, you know, just putting myself back into that. I was terrified to even walk through the hall room to the rest of the house. Like, you know, what else is out there?
Yes.
You know? And you know, so that was a terrifying experience. 100%. 100% terrifying experience.
And there's Ben's, David says a couple of his friends have had that exact same experience.
Yeah, well, there you go. We're not the Lone Rangers. It is quite. I imagine I've read a bit about it and have seen that. Yeah, these are common themes that get reported, and you know, and how you interpret them is, well, that's the thing, isn't it? You know what paradigm do you want to put it under? You know, is it aliens? Is it dimensional? Is it demons and devils? You know, like, it really does come back to a lot of, you know, how you think about it. And I've thought about it from all of those perspectives.
Yeah. You know, and when we interview people about their experiences, we have to sort of disengage their interpretation from the actual story of what happened. You know, do you find that with all the interpretation, you've got to pull it apart and just stick to the basic facts of what happened?
The facts.
Yeah.
And another one who wishes to join and probably talk about, and it's Knox. Knox, you've got some experiences as well, haven't you, mate?
I got plenty for you, but I've been off for a while because I've been working flat out. I've got a good job. I'm helping people in the community, so it's good to see you again, Jackie. And we have Ben and Sheryl.
Yeah. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, I'm in Brisbane too, so I heard one of you were in Brisbane.
Oh.
Because
it's been a long time.
You've had a lot of experiences when you've gone to Aboriginal cemeteries, haven't you, Knox? Or
yeah. Even though my family are from New South Wales, how I look at it as, you know, this country is all of ours. You know what I mean? Like, they do still have their, like, welcome to country. They do it on State of Origin, Australian games and cricket matches. I don't really agree with that because they say, welcome to our country, but we don't own this stadium. You understand what I'm saying? You know, it's like so I just go anywhere that if I get kicked off there by somebody, then they kick me off. So, but yeah, just to go back to what Ben was saying with you know, feeling something next to your bed. We've been in this house for 12 years now. So what was happening to me about 8 years ago was every night I would feel like somebody sitting on the bed. And it would wake me up. I'd ask for my ancestors to look over me, and, you know, I'd tell them to pretty much pee off, you know. And so within 2 weeks, it happened probably 7 times. And then my missus says to me, she's like, you know, last night it felt like somebody sat on the bed. And I'm like, yeah, well, it's happened like 7 times in the past 2 weeks. So Yeah, it's having them experiences, them personal experiences. Like I was looking at on Facebook, well, I think it's called Australian Paranormal. When I posted my missus got scratch on the neck and a handprint on her leg, and she knows what I do. Jackie, you know what I do. I go to the cemeteries.
Yeah.
I've got hundreds of EVPs, and you know they removed my pictures because they said scratches isn't paranormal evidence. And I wrote to the author and I said, well, nobody knows out there 100% of what actually is paranormal evidence. We don't know because we're still living. We're not on the other side. You know, so for people to have a page that says Australian Paranormal, yet if they had vetted me, like Jackie knows me, Julie knows me, Kim knows me, you know, I'm 44 years old. I'm not here to tell little kid stories. I don't need no thumbs up, likes, love hearts, little emojis or anything like that. So I just think, and then you just get into a never-ending typing match with idiots that they're looking at paranormal pages but don't understand what they're actually looking at, what they're believing in, and haven't experienced anything. Like, just get a digital recorder or use your phone and go outside and you'll capture something. Yeah. You know, like Ben and Cheryl, I'd love to send you, and Jackie, I need email addresses to email one of my best recordings I have is when, you know, I know this is personal, but when my wife was in the bath. Okay, I have 3 men, 2 women, and 2 children having a whole conversation while my wife is in the bath. And this goes on for 7 minutes. Yeah, it is one of the best one. And the woman, I've asked my wife to actually show her family, because it's like the woman walks in and she says her whole name 3 times, but she walks in and says, "Hi, Michelle," you know, like she knows her. And so one of the kids sounded like he was Indigenous, and the other kid sounded like he had a English accent. And but this just goes on and on and on. And when I uploaded it, the digital recorder has a USB that you plug into the computer.
Yeah.
And when I put it on the computer and played it through the VLC program, I could turn it up to 125% on that program, and then I use the Beats studio headphones. I can hear a bunch of creepy voices talking filthy and that to my wife, but it was like they were controlling these other spirits, like telling them to touch her and all this stuff, you know. And like I said, I'm not here to tell little kids stories and that, but I'd love to say is that, you know, it does get personal. Like at the end, you can hear her getting out of the bath, you can hear her drying herself with a towel, you know what I mean? And and it all started with, she's in the bath and she's seen a white light go up the wall. So she calls out to me, thinks somebody's peeping through the window with a torch. So I go outside with my dog, and I knew nobody was out there because the dog didn't go sniffing for anybody. And when I shine the torch through the window, she says, I point it up a bit higher, and then she says, no, come in. So I go back in, and she says, no, it wasn't a torch, because when I shine the torch through the window, she could see the pattern of the curtain and the fly screen on the wall. But when she seen the light, it was just a white light up the wall. So I just get the digital recorder, press record, put it on the ground, tell her to ask questions. I tell my 2 kids, which is 16 and 11, they know what I do. They know when I'm recording, be quiet. And the way they say her name and the filthy stuff they're talking about, like the second guy says, don't talk until you take your shirt off. But she's already got her shirt off. She's in the bath. She's already in the bath. So it makes me, and then a little kid says, You'd be like weirdos, you know. So it makes me think that he's talking to the other spirits later on that jump in, the women and that, because she's already got her shirt off. And it's one crazy EVP that I'll only share with a few people. But when you hear her drying herself, when you hear the water dripping, you know, that is so loud. But you really need the Beats headphones and that VLC program to enhance the audio. Like I don't know how to enhance anything with them programs. I just upload it and play it and listen. And you don't have to be a rocket scientist to listen to what they're talking about. But yeah, that's just me anyway. Like I've been doing well, Jackie. I've been working. I work in the courthouse. I help every race and color, from children to adults, help them try and get out of jail, help them get their lives on track. So that's been my focus
It's good.
for the last year now. So that's why I haven't uploaded many videos.
Yeah.
Plus, I've got a whole creepy, you know, bunch of spirits around here that, you know, tell me go and hurt people.
Talk about that. Can you ask this for you, Knox? Does your wife have abilities? Does she usually attract things like that to her?
No. What happens is she's more laid back and she knows what to do. I've showed her hundreds of EVPs and she's more relaxed about everything, where I just tell them to piss off, you know? And that's why they target her. So within 3 days, she got the 3 scratches on her neck, she got the handprint on her leg, and I seen a shadow, a little tiny shadow, which is probably 30 centimeters high by 20 wide, weird shape in the laundry just here. And when I go in there, like the light's on in the kitchen here now, when I go in there, I can still see the dryer. So I blacked out the corner of the dryer. And when it took off real fast to the right, it made 2 scratching sounds like my dog with paws on the tiles slipping, like scratch, scratch, when it took off to the right.
Yep.
And then she got the handprint. She felt like my dog jumped on her bed, but he's too old. And then she felt the cold hand rub along her leg. And this all happened, within a week. But I think it just targets her because she's so laid back and just doesn't bother about things. And I always ask for my ancestors, relatives, and you know, she's a white Australian, but I told her, I said, you still have family and ancestors that you can ask to, you know, look out for you, to be there for you, you know, like it's not a cultural thing. Like, you know, we're all one people. We are, we might have different color skin and different backgrounds and stuff, but we all still have relatives that are passed on, that are looking down on us, and all of us that are captured EVPs and, you know, everything else that's out there, we all know there's something else after we pass on. So, that's just me in a quick little nutshell. Sorry, like.
Thanks for sharing. It's very
interesting. Well.
I miss my family, like Julie, you know, like Jackie, Kim. Like Kim's coming up here soon, so I'm gonna go out and, you know, have a yarn first, shout out some lunch, and you know, we've got a good people here. Like we've been together since day one, and I'll never forget. We've never met in person, but good people.
That's what Kim says.
I just messaged Kim earlier on Facebook. I said, "Who's going live tonight?" Like, I've been flat out with work, man. Like, and to be honest, like that, you know, people want to explore the paranormal and that. I know what I know. I've got evidence of it. I've known since I was a child. I brought up with my culture and stuff, but they can bring you down. You know, and to step away a little bit when my granddaughter was born and focus on my job and focus on my children and my life and that, like, like 9 times out of 10, I can go out. I can go outside. I've done it on Julie's live stream. I've done it on Jackie's live stream. I've gone outside while they're on live, and I've captured EVPs. You know, so that's how much my house is on them. But that don't bother me. Like, yeah, they might scratch and burn my missus, but that's not me. I hope she won't watch this, so I'm okay.
You're safe, Knox. You're safe.
But just before I jump off, I'm really interested in Ben and Sheryl, because it's the first time I have seen you on Jackie's live tonight. So even if you want to inbox me, Jackie, on how to get some more information on what they do and stuff, I'm on both sides. Like, I believe in UFOs and stuff as well. Like, because I know so much about the paranormal is real, you know, why not believe on what these other people are saying all over the world? Because you know, like, a lot of people don't believe in the paranormal, but you know, we know it's real. So why do we doubt these people that talk about the UFO? Why do we doubt them? When, like I said, we don't know everything that's out there or on the other side. And I just talked about Yowies and stuff before. Like, you know, I grew up in the city, so culture was taken away from my family. Yeah, we know some stuff and that, but I just think they're another spirit that's out there, an evil spirit that people see, you know. But that's just my opinion. That's just me, you know, and that's just how I am. Like, yeah, but thanks very much, Jackie, for letting me on. If you got any questions, Ben.
Yeah, Knox, it's very. I've been very fascinated listening to everything that you've said, and just picking up on what you said about Yowies, evil spirits and things like that. Like, where I live here in East Gippsland, which is up in the pointy end of Victoria, they call the Yowies Doolaga. That's the local indigenous culture's name for Yowies is Doolaga. And apparently there's a mountain called Mount Drummer, which is between Orbost and Mallacoota. And apparently the local population don't like driving out past Mount Drummer at night time. So, and that continues to this very day. So got to have your reasons.
Yeah, that's right. And that's what I'm saying about, like, you know, believing in other people's beliefs. And because, you know, my grandmother was taken away from her parents at 9 months old, you know, like, our language was taken from us. Like, it's still available, but it's like, from my experiences of seeing so many shadow figures and that in my house and outside, like somebody said earlier, you know, Jackie said it, sorry. Yeah, see it to believe it. And so what I've seen and captured so far is shadow figures, creepy spirits talking through the spirit box and digital recorder. The digital recorder is the best, I think. But just every tribe has their beliefs and stuff, and unfortunately that was taken from my family. So I might have known a bit more about you know, the Yowie side of things, but I think it's just my opinion is the trickery and that of the you know, they would show up in their form at tribal areas or whatever you want to call them. But yeah, like, I can't doubt them. In, like, you can go 100 kilometers from Brisbane, and I can't doubt that community, whether they're black, white, or Asian, in what they believe in or what they see in, because that's what they believe in. Maybe they've seen them, and I don't doubt anybody because people doubt me. You know, so
yes. I will have to get you on the show sometime.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I'll get Jackie to send me some information about you a bit more, because I
Did I pin it somewhere? I don't think I did. I pinned.
Yeah, just inbox me, Jackie. Because I've just stayed away from YouTube and stuff, and I've just been uploading Facebook stuff lately because I run over my phone last year, and I've lost so many photos and stuff. And I don't believe in the cloud because I think the cloud is the government, But yeah, I'd love to. I would love to send you, especially that's the best one I've got is the bathroom.
Sheryl and Ben, they do have a Facebook site called Strange Encounters Downunder. They're on Facebook.
Yes.
Okay. Yep. I'll contact you through that.
Strange Encounters Downunder. They're on Facebook.
Like I said, I'd like. I will only send that MP3 to Jill, Jackie, Kim, Kanga, a few others, and used to because it is personal. It is my wife in the bath, but I'm not going to send that to people that don't believe, and like I said,
you don't need to share it in general either.
No,
that's right. And, and she asks questions during it. Okay. She asks the questions. Has anybody got anything to say? And you hear the little kid says, I have a question. That's not on TV. That's not my son. None of them sound like my kids. And, I'll only send that to a few people, but, and when I send it to you, I know I have the trust in you to just keep it to yourselves, and then you can go from there with your opinion, and all it is 100% belief because it's no joke, and with these creepy little, if you got the technology to enhance it a bit more, you can hear the creepy little voices that are controlling these other people, telling them to touch her, and all this other stuff that you will hear in that EVP session. So,
but you can look them up on Facebook. Knox, they're on Facebook. Sheryl and Ben are on Facebook. They have their own site called Strange
Say it again, Jackie. So I know.
Strange Encounters Downunder.
I knew that, but when you meet somebody, you got to say it 5 times in your head to remember their name.
Strange Encounters Downunder.
Thanks very much, Jackie, for letting me on. I'll let you finish off the show. Much respect to you and everyone else. We've been family since day one. Like I said, we never met, but it's a small world. People that do really believe, and like when we leave this world, you can't tell me we don't meet why do we have children? Why do we love people? You can't tell me we don't meet again after this. What do we is it just darkness? It can't be. No. That's just how I think anyway. Thanks very much from Brisbane. Parramatta's playing now. My stepson plays with Dragons. I'm doing good. So I'm raising some good kids up here.
Have fun, Knox. Thank you for coming
Thanks very much, Jackie. Ben, Cheryl.
Bye.
Bye.
Anytime you want a question, just send me a message. Okay.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
See ya. That's very interesting. I haven't seen him for a long time.
Yeah, very, very interesting.
Yeah, I've been keen to listen to that because Barry does photographic video and sound analysis, so that would be really good to have a listen.
Yeah, Barry's a lot of stuff happen. He's had a lot of stuff happen at his house.
That's interesting.
I think we had one of them, if I remember right, Kanga, was it one of them called Paul that he had EVP's session with? Kanga would know. Kanga Blue. Was it? And his name was Paul. That was one of the EVPs that come through. That he had a spirit that was there, or an entity, or not quite sure. I think his name was Paul. But has anyone else got any questions or answers? Questions?
Or comments.
Or comments? Well, actually, the only thing I reckon that I found really interesting was the UFO reports in Western Australia. What do you guys think about that?
You mean from the Ross Coulthart documentary?
Yeah.
Okay, go Ben.
Yeah, well, Exmouth. I assume a lot of people actually saw that documentary, which is pretty groundbreaking, in Australian television history, because traditionally the topic is treated as slow news day and giggle factor. So we're now starting to see the media taking a more sober and proper look at it, that was the best thing for that documentary for me, was the fact that we've got a respected journalist now treating the subject seriously. And so Exmouth is one of the those listening stations that the US Army has got on Australian soil up there, and it's in a remote location. And not just Exmouth, but places like Woomera and Pine Gap, they are, and even where I am, the Sale RAF base, which is in Victoria, it all attracts UFOs. UFOs are a common theme around government military sites. So when I heard about the Exmouth, well, that's just one example that was on that program.
Yeah.
When I heard about that, it was great to hear it, but it's sort of like, it just sort of reinforced for me that yes, these things are actually occurring around our military installations. And a place like Western Australia, South Australia has a great UFO history. Keith Basterfield over there has done a lot of great work documenting all the great South Australian cases in Western Australia. And, you've got the famous Mundrabilla case from 1988 when the Knowles family's car was lifted off the Nullarbor highway by an object. Now, that's not just a one-off incident. There's been plenty of cars that have been lifted by UFOs in that area, in Queensland, in the Northern Territory. It's not just a one-off occurrence. If you do your research and you look and you read books and read things, you soon see that there's common threads. UFOs chase cars. UFOs stop cars. UFOs can lift cars off the ground, and you've got no sense of steering. It's all very, very common when you research UFOs. You see around vehicles, and they can stop trains. I know of 2 examples of UFOs stopping trains outright. So, they're a very powerful thing, and Western Australia is the perfect place to go out and encounter something like that. As is every state in Australia. So I was very, very interested and happy to see that case was spoken about in such an open way, and that the witness is happy to talk about it. And I think it's a step in the right direction.
I was really surprised, actually. I was a little bit miffed as well, because I'm thinking that people like Ross Coulthart have been around for a long time, but they haven't been paying attention to the subject. And I was thinking, well, where were you when we needed you, Ross? So I was a little bit miffed at him for a while. It took me a while to get over that. But, Australia is such a huge, huge country, and we have a huge outback country area where a lot of things can be happening that we're just not aware of. And it can be UFOs, it can be paranormal. Because there's not so many people living out in the middle of Australia. But like we said recently, Ben, and I know this for a fact because I've been contacted by some of our Indigenous people who have said that, I've seen things out here, I've seen UFOs, and you need to be aware of this, but not a lot of people report it. So much could be happening out there, and we're just not aware of it.
No, that's right. And I see that we come hither with Heather has had to stop peeling carrots to say I've seen a UFO in my teen years, and so has my uncle, who was a minister of religion. And it's interesting you say that. Like a lot of children do have UFO experiences, so it's very, very common for children to have strong UFO experiences, and you don't have to dig too far to find that out there either.
Yeah.
Kim says she's seen a UFO.
Tasmania is a great UFO destination. They had a group called Chifoic down there, which ran for many, 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 many years, right through the classic era of UFO research in Australia. And there's a huge body of work on the Tasmanian sightings, and there's been some absolute rippers down there.
Story from drovers and Indigenous peoples are interesting. Tell us more.
Yeah, fairy. Don't just keep us hanging.
That's right, they are.
What's the rest of that? Where was it?
Yeah, the nuclear tests, absolutely. Yep. They blasted the hell out of Maralinga out there in South Australia for the British government tests, and didn't give a bugger about the local environment or the local people at that time.
No, because
the travesty.
My where I used to work, my ex-co-worker, he was a Maralinga child. And his parents weren't told of the actual thing that was happening, and he actually got all the disfigurements from
Marshall Islands was the same too. Yeah, they blew the hell out of the Marshall Islands, and now there's a big sinkhole there from where they had all the explosions. So but back on topic, the nuclear tests and Woomera area down there, that's has its UFO history as well.
On his way to an elders meeting.
I'm not sure of the spelling. Oh, that's very interesting. On the way to an elders meeting, his car chased it. Wow, I love a good car chase. And and definitely if it involves UFOs, I'm there for sure. I would like to know more specific details about what actually happened.
Where's Lake Tarrington?
Yeah, where is that anyway?
Yeah,
Lake Tarrington.
Yeah. I could jump onto Google Maps and look all smart.
I wouldn't have a clue.
I'm not 100% sure where it is, but it's a very common theme in Australia, is that very thing. And people like bread carters in the morning down at Wonthaggi in Victoria, they were chased by UFOs in a particular flap that occurred down there. The bread carters out on a particular day delivering bread, and about 2 or 3 trucks had been chased by a UFO. Victoria. Oh, there you go.
Victoria, yeah.
Well, that's my state.
It's your state. But we have a lot of those things happen here in Queensland too. We have, particularly just north of Brisbane on the Bruce Highway going up to the Sunshine Coast, people's cars have been paced by UFOs. And up around Cardwell, where they have the annual UFO festival, they have the amazing Cardwell UFO lights too that a lot of the locals see. It happens everywhere.
Yes, and I just see that Tarrington is near Hamilton, and Hamilton is in the western districts of Victoria, and that is a really hot UFO location out there around that area. And I know of a guy who was a milk carter, and it made it into the local papers at Warracknabeal, and his horse stopped dead when this UFO appeared, and the horse wouldn't move on again. It just stood there sweating. So that's not far from that area, and there's a lot of UFO history in that part of Victoria.
I'm just looking at Life After Life Observatory saying they have UFO sightings there. Oh, there we are. Most tend to be in coastal regions. I think that's because that's where the people live. And that's, they're the witnesses and they report them.
And they appear everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, UFOs appear everywhere. Desert, coast, city, farm. Yeah. Farmers have had many pesky UFOs appear and disrupt their crops, disrupt their stock, steal their water. I've even heard of UFOs stealing apples from orchards.
Yes. Yep.
In Warrnambool in Victoria, they strip the whole orchard bare, or not just the whole orchard. They know where the good apples are, the good trees, and they'll take the good trees and leave the other trees. And other times they take everything, including the rotten apples, off the ground, and it's all gone in a period of time that even men, you'd take 50 men and ladders and lights in the middle of the night to do it. These apples have been selling. Pineapples in Queensland too.
Yes, that's right. Yep. Unidentified thieving objects.
Yeah. Fish. They take fish too.
Take fish as well out of lakes, yes.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, and there's also all those cases of the water being siphoned off the is the river near Gosford as well.
Yeah,
North of Sydney, because we had that famous book called the Gosford Files. But I just wanted to say that the reason why UFOs always comes up with paranormal is because, like I said before, there's that paranormal connection with the people who have the close encounters, and things can appear to be paranormal as well. Like 1 minute a UFO or an alien, what might be called an alien, can be there in front of a witness. Next, it's gone like that, like the light's just been switched off. Whether it disappears into another dimension, well, gee whiz, don't apparitions do that as well? Where do they go? What populates all these other dimensions? There's a whole lot of things in the unseen world that we're just not aware of. And, I think that the paranormal, like I've had so many people tell me some very strange experiences. I mean, if you think you hear strange things in the paranormal world, you should listen to the shooting to the UFO world for a while, because there are things out there that you think, what did I just hear? And the changes that can happen for people who have these experiences, like they can become precognitive and they can have spontaneous mediumship experiences, and they have poltergeist activity around them and all those types of things. So it's very, very closely related to the paranormal field of research.
It certainly is 100%. And I see that Kanga Blue's asking us, what about Gosford? That's up my way. If you look up the documentary Oz Encounters, it's on YouTube. That features the Gosford sightings really well. So Oz Encounters, it was made in the mid-90s.
Yeah.
I think Martin Sachs was the host.
Yeah, I think so.
Back when Blue Healers was the raging show. Yeah, and I think so if you haven't seen it, Oz Encounters, and you should be able to find it on YouTube.
And that's Oz, O-Z.
Yeah, Oz, O-Z, yes, that's right. Yeah. Very interesting documentary.
Good documentary, yeah.
Yeah. Island population is not just around coastal regions, but there may be a link with coastal regions. After all, some of these craft have been seen entering the water. They certainly have been seen entering the water.
Yep.
Yeah, UFO, USO is probably the same thing.
Yep.
It's just whether it's in the air or whether it's actually under the water. And if you follow what they talk about in the military, how those things can just punch into the water without any, like it's not even there. So,
no splash.
No splash, no. There's no splashdown. Yeah.
And we've had reports of that, of UFOs being seen entering and leaving the water here, just north of Brisbane, down near Redcliffe. So, I mean, that's about 45 minutes from where I am in the western suburbs of Brisbane, so it's not that far. And exactly, they can... I was just talking about this recently with Ben. One woman saw, I think it was you, Ben. Maybe it was Insomnia Radio, I don't know. But a UFO was coming out of the water and the water was seen dripping off it. Another time, a UFO was seen going into the water, no splash whatsoever, just went in. The water wasn't affected, So, it happens.
Magical things, aren't they? They really are,
Physics is amazing.
It's incredible how they're able to achieve that.
I missed one. Has anyone else got any questions? Hang on, I missed it. No, people are asking about my dog. Yeah, she's gone quiet. Yes, I've wrapped her up in a blankie because she's cold. She usually barks. She has a barking session.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen or witnessed the Min lights? Anyone?
I think I have. Here in Victoria, which is not that common. Many years ago, I lived out of town and had a view overlooking the mountains. And one night I went out into the balcony and I saw these two lights, and they were this is about 1998. We didn't have LED lights back then, but they kind of had the sort of the cool color of LED, the white light of LED.
Mm-hmm.
they weren't LEDs, but there was two of them, and they were rotating around each other, and they were going just across the treetops. So of all the eucalyptus trees, they were just traveling across the top of, and they were casting a light down onto the top of the trees, and they were dancing together. My screen's in the opposite, like that. And they just followed the treetops, no sound, and just out across the Great Dividing Range. It just went out there, totally at treetop, and I thought, what is these two rotating lights, solid white lights that are rotating around each other? No noise, just like it was ballet, and off they went. So, wow. And that was winter. So, that was my experience.
I've never seen him, but then again, I don't go out much at night. Too cold.
That'll be why.
That's probably why.
It'll be a factor.
Someone before in the chat, I've gone back a little bit now, but they said that that they had, or someone had seen lights that were responding to them. So or maybe it was a relative of theirs, I'm not really sure, but it was the light would move away from them as they were approached, and then as the person or vehicle pulled back, the lights would come towards them. And that's just so typical of the Min lights, and that's one of the ways that we sort of classify Min lights as opposed to UFO craft, if you could put it that way, because they typically just glide along just above treetop height. You don't actually see them right up above or out in outer space, nothing like that. And that doesn't mean that that's actually what they are. It just means it's a way for us to differentiate the different types of sightings. And because Min can actually travel for, up to an hour or two at 100 k's an hour, pacing vehicles. So, it's sort of, you can tick the box of strange birds and balloons and even drones, those sorts of things. It's not those at all. It's something strange that we're just not really aware of what it is.
Exactly. They may even come out of the ground. I mean, who knows? Like it could be some type of a earth phenomena of some sort, with some sort of a natural explanation. But we don't have the science or, and I'm sick of people saying temperature inversions and all of that, because that is a load of rubbish. Truck lights from 100 kilometers away are inverted by the heat and downward pressure. And, it's lame. Then it's lame, and it doesn't stack up to what people report. I'm sure that can happen. I'm not saying that can't happen or that's not a thing, but it's not a thing when it comes, if you actually study information and look at it with an open mind, you'll see quite clearly that it's not that.
Yes.
It's not that. So let's move on from temperature inversions, and that type of thing. It's just they're not solutions, and it doesn't encourage us to look either. Imagine if we all went, oh yeah, it's temperature inversions. Okay, tick the box, done.
They would attract the children away from their families, and things would whistle to get the children away, never seen again. Yes, interesting, isn't it? Yeah. Ham radio. Well, that's interesting. Life after life observatory.
Excuse me. Yeah.
Yeah. I imagine there would be a lot of reports from ham radio operators. Yeah,
there would be. Yeah, I'm not aware of any cases personally, but that's not to say that there probably would be.
Excuse me.
We're not in the ham operator community, are we?
No, we're not. No, that's right. We're not in the ham operator.
This is why it's so important that these different fields or interest groups get together and talk about these things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, who knows what you could pick up?
Yeah, a lot you could pick up.
And there's stories of telecast. I don't know what happens these days, but there were stories of old telecasts coming back. Like something that was screened in 1959 appeared on television sets in 1975 in Ohio or somewhere. And you hear those sort of stories too, that of sort of these ghostly transmissions that can appear. I remember as a child, one day we were very surprised when the Burnie News came on, which is in Tasmania, on our black and white TV. All of a sudden the Burnie newscaster is there talking about Tasmanian news, and it stayed there for probably about 5 minutes, and then it drifted off. Yeah, that was back in the day when you had snow and all that sort of stuff, and antennas like this,
Yeah.
It's just nothing, you had to hit it on the side.
Yeah, work.
Yeah, can't do that with your flat screens.
No.
I was just looking at what Kanga Blue was saying. That's the mystery of the paranormal, and many mysteries we are far from solving keeps us intrigued. I think it is. I think that's right too. I think it's mystery. Sort of, it's something that our minds just want to find the beginning of that ball of string that just keeps unraveling, isn't it? But we sort of learn more about ourselves too and the human experience while we try and unravel it, I think. What does it mean to be human? What does it mean when we're not in the physical form? Where do what's it like when we're like after death, and can we communicate, and what levels are there? How many dimensions are there? And if there are dimensions, and very interesting.
Yeah, no, exactly. I don't think we're going to have the answers in the short term, but we'll keep on working away. Yeah.
So I had a robotic type of communications a few days ago from a Timex hacked radio. Well, that's interesting. I don't know what a Timex hacked radio is, but a robotic type of communication. I've heard that before, actually, from someone who'd had a close encounter, and they said that they were at a military college and they were between classes or something like that. And this is going back some years. And they heard voices suddenly. This is daytime. They suddenly heard voices that seemed to be whispering, and they were robotic, but it was like people were speaking backwards. Now get your mind around that, right? Which is very interesting. I mean, just out of there, they couldn't see anything.
That's piqued my attention really quick.
But they suddenly heard it. Now, this gentleman who had those experiences, I went and interviewed him, and he was living in an apartment in Fortitude Valley at the time. And the reason he called me was because he had seen these silver balls, 3 of them in the sky, forming a triangle. Well, three of anything is going to form a triangle, I suppose. And he watched them for a while, and then they took off. So I asked him had he had any other strange experiences, and that was one of them, of these voices that just appeared in his head. Not in his head. Well, he heard them in his head. Yeah. Another one was where he had been out with friends for coffee, and he had a piece of cake and he was holding the fork, and the fork just bent. It just bent. Actually, the tongs on the fork, they just twisted. That's right. They sort of curled. And then when he went home to put his key in the lock to unlock his apartment, the key actually just sort of, he said it was in his hand and it turned into butter. It was very, very strange. It was like butter. It was so soft. It eventually hardened again, but he showed me the key, and it was the flat of the key, but this part here had turned like that. I can't do it properly, but it had turned. And you know how hard it is to bend those house keys? Really hard.
Yeah,
really hard. And he did a whole lot of other strange, and I think that's a paranormal experience, a bit of a Uriel type experience.
Exactly. I've only bent keys when they're in the lock.
Yeah.
We'll snap them.
Otherwise they're very, very interesting stuff.
So what do you think about the Yowies? What do you actually really think about the Yowies?
I'll give you my
opinion. Them in New South Wales, haven't they? Apparently they've seen them in New South Wales.
Oh yeah, well they do appear all over the place. I don't subscribe to the theory that they are a big oofy ape thing that lives, naturally in the environment. I just don't think that's what they are, because a big hominid that's 8, 9, and even 10 feet tall has to have a huge amount of eating that would be required for a creature like that. So, what is it eating? We haven't found dead ones on the road. Okay, now you might say, well, they're intelligent, so they're not getting hit by truckers, right? But humans are intelligent, and they still get hit by truckers. So, so you can't argue that it's a part of the flora and fauna, in my opinion. My opinion, from my readings and from my own investigations, is that I think that they do come from somewhere else to our environment for whatever purpose, for whatever time they're here. But you can't go out there and bust a family community of them. Now, other people might disagree with that, right? But I think that's the crux of the problem when hunting for yowies, is that you go out there and for a month and see nothing, and it's the same with everything, stand in the cemetery for a month, look at the sky for a month, stand in the bush for a month, see nothing at all. It's because you're not there at the right time. And I just don't, my personal feeling is that they are from another place, and they come here for their own purposes, and then they go back to where they came from.
I agree.
Yeah, well, it's one theory.
I think they are physical. They are here. They leave footprints and they leave hair samples. Yeah. They, take bite marks or scratch trees at very high levels. They break off the branches, which aren't naturally broken through storms, etc. They throw rocks at people who approach them as a warning. They're intelligent. They're certainly, they can hide themselves. I mean, I'm so surprised that we don't have more reports of them than what we do, unless there's not that many of them. I know that during COVID, when everyone was, being restricted at home, at least in the beginning, that sightings of them were closer to the cities than they had been. And the closest sighting, because I was talking to Ray Doherty at that time, and he was saying that he'd received a report was only 16 kilometres from Brisbane. So, while we stay indoors, the wildlife comes closer. But I had been to a meeting many years ago, a UFO meeting at Ipswich, which is west of Brisbane, and there was a woman there who was an Indigenous woman who was talking about her family's experiences with yowies. And she said that she and her family were very aware of them on her property, and they weren't threatening, but they were there, and they would come so close to the house. And one particular time, I think she was saying that, and this is going back a long time from memory, so I may not have it all clear, but she did say that there was a yowie that was on the window, and it was just gently rubbing the window, and it was cooing to the children, the human children inside. So that's interesting in itself. What that means, I don't know. So a lot of people have had experiences with them, and they're quite, they can camouflage themselves really well. They can hide very well. Otherwise, we'd have a lot more sightings, I think. So, and over the years, I've had reports. There was one from someone who was driving from Brisbane down to the Gold Coast in the early hours, or just after midnight or something like that. And anyway, it was in the years before we had the 4-lane highway either way. And they said this big hulking yowie just sort of loped across the highway in their headlights, just south of Brisbane near Dreamland at Coomera. So in those days, Dreamland doesn't exist, and it was all a lot of bushland there. So I think that they travel through the green belts. That's probably how they stay hidden, because we have a green belt that goes from where I am out towards Ipswich, and we often see deer here in the suburbs. So I had a big stag going down the road once outside my house. But so I think that they use those green belts to travel and keep themselves hidden. And I don't know whether they move in and out of other dimensions. A lot of people suggest that they do. I'm not sure. I just don't know.
Yeah. That's it. I mean, anything is possible.
Mm.
You know, and then, as you said before, Shell, there might be a small community of them, as you say. Like you can walk across 3 or 4 mountain ranges and see nothing because they're just that rare. If they are like a natural creature of the land, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I agree. Like the bunyips.
exactly, like the bunyips, which are few and far between these days.
Mm-hmm. I know the one at Murray Bridge. the one in the concrete tunnel.
Yeah.
Has any sorry, I had to put that in. Has anyone got any more questions I'd like to ask Sheryl and Ben?
I just want to say to Ghostly Farm, oh, that's you.
That's me. That's me.
Oh gosh, putting up the YouTube channel there. I don't know what I was thinking. Yeah, hide and seek world champions, that's for sure.
Yeah, they certainly are.
Absolutely. And I was just going to say that I received another report once.
Sorry.
From I'll keep talking. From Mount Gambier, near Mount Gambier, where a woman had seen a Yowie family during the daytime, where she initially saw there's a lake there somewhere. I'm not sure of the name of the lake, but she saw a young one going to the water's edge, and she saw 2 adults standing back in the bushland, just watching the young. There's no other life around at the time, and she said they just watched it, and it sort of had a drink and played in the water, and then they all sort of came together and moved off. And I said, that's really interesting. She said, I've never told anyone exactly where I saw them, and I won't, because I think that they need to live in peace, and they leave us alone, and we leave them alone. So she said, I'll never tell exactly where I saw them. So I thought that's actually a good thing.
I think so too. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've done a lot of Yowie hunting, and personally have found nothing. And I've been to most of the actual Yowie encounter zones in my area, nighttime, daytime, and I haven't seen a thing. Nothing. I've had UFO experiences, but I've never seen a single stitch of evidence for a Yowie in my own extensive looking for them. But I still believe they're there.
Yeah.
And again, it's just me being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Well, they're evasive for a reason, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I don't think they saw her, Kanga Blue. She was observing them through the bushland. Yes, Mount Gambier, South Australia. Yep.
That's about a 5-hour drive for me. Mount Gambier.
Right. Yeah.
I missed too much. What else have we got? I haven't got much else. I know about the urban legends and haunted cemeteries, and
well, we can always come back on another show.
Yeah.
Jackie, the funny thing I was going to say was, when in the paranormal community, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of people think ghost hunting and only ghost hunting. And I just wonder why they don't think a little bit more broadly. Have I got that wrong? Is it mostly made up of ghost hunters?
Pretty well much. When you go out looking for evidence. When you go out, as you say, ghost hunting, you go out to see if there is life after death, if you can communicate with them, or if you get any physical touching, or I've actually had an attachment myself. I actually bought one home, and she took about nearly 2 years to actually for her to leave. But
Yeah.
I've actually found out where I got her from, and she was from a cemetery, a historic cemetery up in Gawler, which is a country town in South Australia, not far from me. And actually, she was from the 1860s, and I actually read back because I'm thinking what the name Janet, where I got her from, and she's the only cemetery, is the only one I can remember actually with this attachment coming from, and she was quite nasty. She was a nasty piece of work. She took a long time for her to leave. She was a nightmare, as Kanga says. She was terrible.
Oh, no, that's no good. I see Knox wants to come yowie hunting with me, so anytime.
Go for it.
Yeah.
But you know, there's a whole... Oh, okay.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, that's a valid comment. Yeah, you know, Australia's a big, lonely, empty place. And, you know, there's many places for yowies to be without contacting humans. But as you say, they do come down to the fringes of the city areas and the green belts and, you know, where the deer are and all that. So they, you know, they can come into that zone, but there's plenty of places for them to hide. Plenty of places.
Oh, Yulee Road, yes. Well, now that's the cemetery I was telling you about before with the pentagrams done in the stone. There's actually a shed lot. There is something very wrong up there. There's a being who stands beside in the corner of the cemetery. Now, the church was sort of like in the middle, or the chapel was in like pretty well to the middle. And in this corner, because there's a lot of, as you speak, the power lines that go overhead, which is only just in the next paddock in the orchard. Now, this figure stands right in the corner. He won't come out from this corner, but he sits in the corner and just watches you. And I've been there once when I was with Unearthly Wanderings, and she actually spotted him first. And then when I went again with my good old friend that's just popped up, Tracy Gardner, she had a trail cam in that tree where this figure has been seen. And she actually caught him on camera.
Wow.
And he's not good.
He's not good?
Like, it gives you that feel like, you know, you're being watched, but it's just like this really dark figure that's just even like, I keep saying it's probably because of the power lines that runs really close to the cemetery, because it's like orchard on one side, and then all around the cemetery is all the grapevines.
Yeah.
And he always stands in this one corner all the time. And like twice that he's been spotted there, and I've been there with Tracy Gardner from the Night Productions. She actually, she caught him on the trail cam.
Wow.
I've seen him there. And then when my Julie from Unearthly Wanderings, when I took her up there, she actually saw him straight away, and she said, "Don't move." But what's the first thing you don't when they say don't move? Run.
You move.
That was me. I was running. But
yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, just quickly on that too. Like people say, "Oh, if I saw a UFO, I'd go up to it." Oh, if I saw a ghost, I'd go up to it. Well, you may not. You may not actually do that. You might think that that's what you would do, but when you're actually in the situation with the UFO and the ghost and the yowie, you may actually turn heel and just be out of there, despite all the best of intentions. Yeah, I mean, I always say, if a UFO landed, I'd go straight up to it. You know, like no problem at all. But you know, if it actually happened, then who knows?
Well, I wouldn't do that because of the effects of the technology. I mean, we know that there is cases where people have actually been hurt by going close to a UFO. So that's one reason why I wouldn't do it.
Exactly. Yeah. No, there's good reasons to not.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, as Kangaroo says, I'll be peanut buttering. That's me. I'm a peanut butterer. I'll be running.
No.
One lady, Vanessa, she says she walks past cemeteries and actually sees ghosts walking.
Yeah. Yeah,
Wow.
we looked at a case here in Brisbane at the Archerfield Airfield, which is for small planes, but during World War II it was used. And there is a case where locals have seen a pilot dressed up in all his gear from that era and walking along the road. And that's quite common, actually. So we went out there and went to the airfield and interviewed some of the staff who were there, spoke to them about it, and they told us a story of how a plane had crashed there. So, you know, and I think they were saying that some people were there one day, there's another story about it, and they saw this man walking across the airfield, I think it was, dressed in all his pilot gear as well. And they thought, oh, well, there's some sort of a show or a demonstration on today. But when they inquired with the staff, they found out that there wasn't. So he just walked across. He was as solid as you and I. And I guess that's one of those Peak and Darien experiences where you see people, you think they're alive, and then you find out they're actually, no, they're not. You know, so
it's like the Fukushima. It's like the Fukushima taxi rides.
Yes.
You know, people hop into taxis, off they go, and then they're not there. That was in Japan after the tsunami. Yeah.
Yeah. There was a lot of those reports, wasn't there?
Yeah, it's quite common. Yeah.
Interesting.
Wow. It's Tracy. Tracy, I know this cemetery quite well that Tracy's talking about, and she says she's seen a nun in the Catholic section. Now, there's a lot of nuns, sisters, nuns buried in that section, and priests. So, yeah, and she's saying she saw a nun there.
Wow.
The main cemetery in Adelaide. It's right next to the city.
Right.
Yeah. Very interesting. Yeah, if you haven't heard of the Fukushima taxi rides, look them up. Yeah, that's real. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Amelia Earhart landed in Darien. She thought she was in Scotland. The day before navigation, isn't it? You know, or computerized navigation.
Yeah, I'm just replying to Knox too. Yes, we do need to catch up. That would be good since we're in the same town, same city. Yep. Let's sort it out.
Yeah. Has anyone else got any more questions I'd like to ask? Or I know, itchy. Yeah, I've never heard of the Fukushima taxi rides either.
Oh, there were a lot of
homework for you all. Look at homework.
Yeah.
Yes, I do, Vanessa. It's the exact same pit, I think. Oh, as Sam says, the field is now called Earhart Park.
Yeah, wow. That's interesting.
Yes.
Very interesting statement.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Sorry.
No, you're right. I can see it on the chat. Yeah. So many interesting paranormal tales and experiences from Asia, South America, Eastern Europe. The Asian countries and even South American countries, they have a context for those types of experiences, whereas we don't. And that's the problem for people who have these experiences and they're not believed. Then they've got to struggle with the knowledge that their family and friends don't believe them. And I think that's really hard on people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'm just trying to see if there's anyone else got any questions or Heather's still listening in the background.
Heather and Heather.
Yeah.
I like that name.
She does a lot of urban exploring.
Oh, really?
It's an urban explorer, yes.
Ah.
And get half the time getting the farmers shooting at her. Not really.
Sorry, well, look, all of you great people out there, we would love to talk to you and about what you do, find out what you do, and maybe have you on our show. That would be great. And also possibly on the Insomnia radio show too, which we cover, Sifu and I cover a lot of these unusual things as well. So that would be great.
Oh,
yes, get the word out.
And she's a ghost hunter. Sorry, Heather. And she does mostly urban exploring.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so contact us through the Strange Encounters Downunder Facebook page. That would be great.
Yep. And on YouTube.
YouTube. Make those connections. Yep.
Yep, definitely.
I'll just show you this one. Hang on, I've got to sneeze. Excuse me.
Ghost hunting equipment you see for sale, help or just add more questions? More scientific. You know, that's a really good question or statement. Ben and I have had this discussion on our own podcast, and I think the best equipment we can have is ourselves. You know, our senses, our hearing, our sight, and our what would you say? Our mind to try and discern what's going on, and our intuition. I think that's really important as well. We can be more scientific with more advanced equipment, and that's great, but it just depends on what it is that you're looking for or what answers that you're trying to find. I mean, I'm just thinking of that case of the woman, can't think of a name right now, but it was a woman who had a near-death experience, and she's well known. She was in the States, and she was having surgery, so she was hooked up to all the equipment. And so what happened for her was that after she had the surgery, she could, I think it was Pam Reynolds or someone like that just came to me. And after she had the surgery, she could tell the staff there exactly what she had seen while she was out of her body. And the great thing was that she was hooked up to the equipment. So they knew she'd flatlined, and she was properly flatlined because she was having brain surgery. And there was no brain activity whatsoever. So she was existing out of her body, using her consciousness to be able to see what was going on around her. Remember, she's not physical. So she's using her her consciousness senses, not her physical body senses, to be able to listen and to see. So that was great. That proves one thing. But there are so many other things that happen. And sometimes you can't get that equipment. You know, for example, I mean, I've heard of I know about the spirit boxes and things like that, but there are so many things that can't be explained using equipment. Put it that way. I don't know. What do you guys?
You shouldn't let a lack of equipment stop you from looking.
Yes.
You know, because not everyone's got thousands of dollars to throw at expensive equipment, and that's most of us are poor, so no one's got thousands, or not many people have got that sort of money to throw around buying lots of equipment. And at the end of the day, too, even if you've got really advanced equipment and it captures a living perfect ghost, people can still say, you just CGI'd it. So
that's the other thing.
Yeah, so it doesn't mean belief is even, but people. So, are we trying to prove that ghosts exist, or is it about, So, is it about proof? And that's I think that's what the whole thing's. So you got to question what and why you're doing it. Because proof can always be questioned. So.
I bought all the Fandangle stuff, and I've used them twice, and they're just chucked under my cupboard now. SLS cameras, I got all that, and I've used them twice, and I've just given up on them.
You can have all the equipment in the world set up and nothing but a piece of dust floats past, right? Or you can be standing there with just your iPhone and take a really intriguing picture. So, equipment helps. It's good. Yeah. It's great. But it's not the be all and end all, and it's not the starting or the finishing of investigation. Investigation, as Sheryl says, is your senses, your own curiosity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I bought all the things, and it just don't work.
Kanga Blue says there was a well-known specialist neurologist in the US who had an NDE, and I believe a lot of his colleagues lost respect for him for speaking about it, and that's true. And his name was Dr. Eben Alexander. But he had an experience that was, for him, it was real. And a lot of people who've had NDEs, those experiences are real for them. And it's really, and they're sort of sacred experiences, and I don't appreciate people who say that didn't happen, because it happened for that person. Does it mean it was real, or it was real for them for a start? But if you can prove it to be, if you can use those experiences as evidence that there was, that we can exist outside our physical bodies, that's great, And I've had an NDE, and I've had a profound out-of-body experience. I've had a couple, but one was really profound. Where was I going with that? I was going somewhere. but I remember there was a lady once who said to me that she and her husband had been driving near a place called Studio Village on the way to the Gold Coast south of Brisbane. And she said they came up over a rise and they saw what they thought was a plane about to crash, but it had no wings. And the husband jammed on the brakes, and they just stopped and they froze. And they sort of went, oh, my God, what are we seeing? And it just hovered at the height of the palm trees that were there. So the husband sort of got his wits back together, and he turned around and they drove to the nearest garage station. They pulled up and they told their story of what they'd seen. Now, some so-called scientist from God knows where in other part of the country was telling them that they didn't see anything, but they were there. They saw it, right?
Exactly.
So he had no right to tell them that their experience wasn't real, because they were there and they saw it. Yeah. And this is what I don't like about what happens for people who have these experiences, and they're they're almost bullied to the point of invalidating their experiences completely, but ground into the dirt because they've had an experience that is outside the range of usual human experience. And it's not right that people get away with deriding those people.
Yeah. Good point.
And that's true. I'm just reading that one. Some of the best evidence is captured by accident by people not even looking for paranormal experience. That is so true. All of my experiences, all been spontaneous. I've never sought them. Never.
No, exactly right.
Spontaneously. Yeah.
Exactly right. So many encounters happen by accident. Right place, right time.
Yeah, you've got to be in the right place at the right time.
And like you say, Ben, you can have all the equipment in the world, but unless it's going to happen for you, number one, and then number two, you forget it.
Oh, you just got to keep making those payments on the equipment.
Yeah. That's true. Like, because I have the SLS camera, and I used it twice, and I just gave up on it. I thought, nah, because it does what it's supposed to do, map out stuff.
Yeah.
And because that's what it's supposed to do, map out. And if you move to it and you just keep mapping, if you keep moving it, it's just going to keep mapping out things that, like, because I took it out once and it was mapping out to like headstones. That's what it's supposed to do. And then it will map out a tree or map out. And then I just went, Oh, that's the worst $600 I just spent in my life. Because I got all the fandangled bits with it and everything, and the shoulder holster, and now, yeah, it's just under my cupboard now, collecting dust.
Yeah, that's a good point. I bought a night vision thing for $1,000, which is not a lot of money, but I never use it.
Yeah, I never use it. Like I've got a little what do they call them? Portal little thing. I've used it to take out the noise when you're doing EVP sessions. I like used it. Yeah, under the cupboard now. Battery's down. Don't even bother with it. I don't know why, but it's just fine because everyone's got one. You got to have it, and then you get it, and you're like,
it's like home gym equipment.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, everyone's got it. You got to have it. If they've got it, you got to have it.
Stays under the bed.
Especially all the big knob like paranormal groups, they've all got these fandangled things. Oh yeah, I got to get one of them, and you get it. You think, oh, that's about.
That's a real shame. Life after life that people are being have a bullying motive in mind, trying to debunk people. It's a problem right across the board. Doesn't matter what field you're in. Yeah,
it is. Even when people put up photos that are obviously not what they're asking that it is, that you should still be respectful and appreciate the fact that they're inquiring and want to share.
Oh yeah, that's a big problem they got over.
Yeah, without saying, "Oh, that's a heap of rubbish," you know.
I'm glad it's not too bad here, but over there, it's starting to drift into Australia, but it's nowhere near as bad as England and Ireland, and nowhere as bad. Yeah, that's what it does because it just resets itself.
Yeah.
If you stay still and I just $1,600 something for that. Yeah, under the cupboard you go and just staying there collecting dust. That's what it does. Well, that's what mine does anyway. But one of my because I've got 4 brothers. One of my other brothers who's right into UFOs. He reckons he saw one. Not the supermoon we just had, the buck moon, but the one beforehand, the one before that, a couple of months ago. I think it was the big strawberry moon. Oh, I can't remember what it was. Not the buck's moon, but the one he reckons he saw a UFO above that moon.
Yeah, interesting.
That's what he was saying. And no, he's right into UFOs.
Yeah.
Always looking out into the sky to see if there's anything moving around. But he reckons that the last supermoon we had, he actually saw something move really quick above it.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's right into it, that one. My brother, one of my brothers. But until I see it myself, I have to, never really get, because he messaged me like 4:30 in the morning. He says, I'm going, why are you messaging me at this time of the morning? He goes, look outside. I'm going, don't think so. Went back to bed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The harvest moon. That's probably what it was.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Respect is very important in this field. Respecting people's experiences.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't and you just throw them in their face, you're basically calling them a liar, and that's just wrong.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So has anyone got any more? I'll check after Vanessa when I've finished this live. Has anyone got any more questions they'd like to ask or anything they'd like to find out? Or please feel free to type it in. There's not really much I've got left to ask you guys.
Okay.
Well, that's all right. We can always come back again another day.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're half an hour ahead of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
No, anything. They're all too scared.
Maybe they're all talked out.
They're all talked out. But yeah.
Till next time.
Yeah.
Oh. It doesn't look like. Oh, here we go. I think I asked that ages ago, but
You did, yeah.
But Tracy wasn't here then.
Okay. Actually, Tracy, I sort of started when I was a teenager, really. When I was, I started with a part-time job, and I was earning a bit of money so I could go to the newsagent and buy magazines. And one at the time, which no longer exists, was called Australasian Post. And in there, John Pinkney used to publish stories about the paranormal, UFOs. My husband's an alien. I've had an alien baby. All those types of stories. Yeah. And I've seen a yowie, and I've got a yowie lover, and all those sorts of things. But I was just really interested to read about those types of stories. That's where it started for me as a teenager.
Yeah, I was the same too. Basically, yeah, from early age was always reading UFO books and ghost books, and it's just been a lifelong interest. It's been there from the very get-go, and started really getting involved 10 12 years ago, and it's been an incredible journey right up until today.
Yes.
Yeah.
Vast most. Excuse me. Excuse me. I'm getting friggin' bit of a cold happening. Oh.
Sorry, I've just had the cat into the room.
Oh.
The door
Animals. I got one. She's wrapped under a blanket at the moment on my bed.
The black thing sucking the energy out of the sun. No, I don't know what that is.
No.
What is that?
Yeah, I'm not down with that. I'll have to do my Google research.
Oh, I've just heard Barry out in the background. He says, what'd you say, UFO planet? Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, no, I won't repeat it. An alien planet? Using it as a spaceship to traverse the universe. So there's a thought.
I'm on board.
Yes. Extra child. Shadow and sitting on the bed with my two girls. I've heard those types of stories before.
Yeah, that's an interesting story, isn't it?
Yeah, very much.
Yeah.
And animals too. The spirits of animals in houses as well.
Yeah.
I've got because I had in 2019 I had my 19-and-a-half-year-old cat put to sleep. In 2020 I lost my uncle in April, and my 18-and-a-half-year-old cat in June, and my mum in August. And I was doing a live one night, and we could hear I've got no cats. I've only got my dog, and I was sitting there doing a live, and I actually heard meowing, and like when cats scratch at your carpet.
Yeah.
We were sitting there, and we could hear like cat scratching my carpet.
Amazing. Freaky.
And I felt her a couple of, because I've had because my cat Millie, she was 19-and-a-half, and my cat Bindi, she was 18-and-a-half, and she used to always be down near my feet. And we were doing a live one night, and I heard a cat scratching on the floor and meow. Which was quite creepy.
Yeah, that would be 100% creepy.
Especially when you haven't got cats anymore. I've only got a dog.
Yeah.
My little she doesn't like cats anyway, and we're sitting there going, what the hell was that? And she heard a cat scratching, clawing at the carpet. She's saying, hang on, it was a friendly mic. She's hanging out with them. She has a pony. She has ponytails.
An ongoing experience or just a one-off experience? So was there repeat encounters or just the one time?
Even fairies had a child spirit in the house where she used to live.
Hmm.
And Knox was saying that the streaks of the black lines of energy coming out of the sun.
Hmm. Hmm. No, I haven't heard of that.
Like I'm supposed to have a haunted doll, and I don't like. I bought it. It's supposed to be haunted, and I can't have. I hate because I went and saw. I went to a haunted doll museum with that Let Me, that doll, the third most haunted in the world, the Let Me Out doll. Now I saw that one live, and I hate dolls, and every doll that this was in this museum was that to be haunted. Now, that got me into. I never liked dolls, never have, and that got me into buying one. And it's supposed to be haunted, and I really never got much from her. And now I put it in. She's now in the spare room with 3 other dolls. I've never ever caught anything from just the vest, like the child that's supposed to be in the vessel, but I just think that some of the haunted dolls are a lot of, out there. Hazel, yes, I had a doll, Hazel. I actually had to pass that one. I believe was haunted. I had to pass that one on.
Thanks, Knox. We'll catch up with you soon.
If anyone else hasn't got any more, I will say goodbye to everyone. And
thank you for a lovely session.
Yeah,
discussion.
very fun.
To think about. Yeah,
good getting to know more people.
Well, speak to different people with different perspectives on stuff. Like I'm definitely still a fence sitter when it comes to everything. Definitely.
We'll keep working on you.
All right. So if no one's got any more questions I'd like to ask, we'll bid you all a farewell.
Yeah, thank you very much for having us.
You're welcome. You're totally welcome.
Have a great night, everyone.
So, doesn't look like anyone's fairies giving blessings and butterflies. So, thank you everyone for coming in. Thank you for coming along. And Sam. Now that's one's got. Sam's got some creepy dolls. She's got some and I mean creepy dolls.
I have action figures.
Oh, she's got some creepy doll. Oh, there's one creepy doll I don't like. It's creepy. So all right, guys, I'm going to bid you all a farewell.
Lovely.
And
thanks for having us.
Thank you for coming in, Sheryl. Thank you for coming in, Ben, and talking about your channel. Don't forget, guys, I've linked it a few times for go over and show your support to Strange Encounters Downunder.
And we'll see you all over there too.
Yes, we will.
Okay. Thank
night,
you guys
everyone.
for coming in. Bye.
Bye.
Good night.
Good
See
night.
ya.